What's up, guys? Obviously, it's Captain Obvious, and welcome to the Armory. In today's episode, I will be covering the Famas and the AEK-971. These are the highest rate of fire assault rifles in the assault rifle class. They are very ideal weapons for close range fighting. They're not as good at longer range, but I'll give you guys some tips on how to effectively use them if you ever want to go out that far. And before I get into these reviews, I want to say one thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. It's very high-action gameplay. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's very entertaining. And for me, it was fun to record, so I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. Besides the potential for the AN-94's fire rate, the Famas has the highest rate of fire out of any weapon in Battlefield 3. It is extremely dangerous at close range, and that is where you wouldn't be using the Famas almost at all times. At medium to long range, the Famas is nearly unusable because of its extreme rate of fire and very heavy recoil. The Famas's damage is 25 to 18.4, with the drop-off beginning at 8 meters and ending at 50 meters. The shots to kill in core mode are 4 to 6 and 3 to 4 in hardcore mode. The defining factor in what makes the Famas is its insanely high rate of fire. At 1,000 rounds per minute, it will beat out any other weapon at close range if you can get all your bullets on target. The suppressive effect is 7.0%, the muzzle velocity is 630 meters per second, which as a matter of fact is actually very high for the assault rifle class, only being beat out by the M16A3 and 4. The maximum range is 945 meters, which again is unusually high for such a high rate of fire and close range weapon. Mainly for balancing purposes, the Famas's reload is extremely long. At 3.20 seconds, it is the longest normal reload out of any assault rifle. The empty reload is even longer at nearly 4 seconds, being 3.90. The threshold reloads are even longer than some of the normal reloads of the other assault rifles. The reload is 2.40 and 2.925 seconds respectively for normal and empty. The multiplier is actually very low for the assault rifle class at 0.75, as most of the other assault rifles actually have a 0.85 multiplier. So you gotta be watching out for that longer reload and try to adapt to that in close range and find a place to do your reload before charging in the battle. The Famas has the most extreme recoil in the entire assault rifle class. You will notice in this demonstration that it tends to go extremely to the right. The right recoil on the Famas is extremely evident when using this demonstration. You can see it also is very heavy upwards, but not as much to the right. Adapting to this recoil pattern to the right is not as important as with some other weapons because the Famas is so potent at close range. Recoil does not really have a factor. When using at medium range though, adapting this recoil is very important. Sometimes I recommend switching into 3-round burst mode in order to keep that recoil down and be able to aim your shots properly without being thrown off target too fast. The spread of the Famas is also extremely high, and that means it's very potent at close range, but when you get out to medium ranges, it's not advisable to go for aimed shots because of that very high spread. The Famas's magazine size is 25 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, and that in conjunction with the extremely high rate of fire means you will be reloading a lot. Also, the Famas has the longest reload in the entire assault rifle category, making reload compensation extremely painful. You gotta be able to time your reloads perfectly so you know when you'll be able to fire again. I designed an ideal class for you guys that is coupled with extreme recoil reduction and increase in close range spread. Now, the reason I say use the flash suppressor is to lower that vertical recoil, and the foregrip will lower the horizontal recoil to more of a manageable position. It is not, as controllable as some of the other assault rifles, but it is actually a little bit easier to control. I like the foregrip on the Famas because it increases the spread. You may be asking yourself, why do you want to increase the spread on the Famas? The reason for that is because the Famas is a sole close range weapon, and increased spread will give the bullet pattern a little bit nature to a shotgun. Having that increased spread at closer range is actually very helpful for you. So using that foregrip in conjunction with the flash suppressor to lower recoil and increase spread is very advisable. Also, the Cobra is great at close range because of its open sight picture. The number one thing you want to remember when using the Famas is recoil control. It is very important to control that recoil even at close range because you do not want that very low magazine size and that low bullet count to go off target. Having such a high rate of fire and low magazine size means that your shots have to be precise even in close range. The increased spread of the foregrip helps a little bit out with that, but even with your increased spread, it is very important that you guys are able to control the recoil, get your shots on target so you're not left out in the open dealing with that very long reload time of the Famas. Now I'm going to move on to the review the AEK-971. When comparing the AEK-971 to the Famas, this is the most controllable high rate of fire assault rifle in the game. The horizontal recoil is very heavy on this weapon, but I'm going to teach you guys how to compensate for that by using attachments and some strategies. The damage of the AEK-971 is 25 to 18.4 with the drop-off beginning at 8 meters and ending at 50 meters. Your shots to kill in core mode are 4 to 6, and in hardcore that drops down to 3 to 4. This weapon's fire rate is 900 rounds per minute with the suppressive effect being 7.0%. Muzzle velocity is a pretty low 850 meters per second, and the maximum range is a low 870 meters. As you guys can tell, the AEK-971 is more suited to medium range combat due to that lower rate of fire than the Famas, but higher rate of fire than some of the other assault rifles. Muzzle velocity is actually a little bit lower than some of the other weapons, as is the maximum range. So using the AEK-971 in a more of a close to medium range combat situation is advisable for this weapon. Alright, so the AEK-971's reload time is 2.65 and 3.72 seconds for an empty reload. Threshold time is 2.25 and 3.162 seconds respectively. The multiplier is 0.85, which is normal throughout the rest of the assault rifle class. Not only is the reload time middle of the line, but it also makes you feel like a badass when you do it because it looks freaking awesome. When taking a look at the AEK-971's recoil pattern, you'll notice it tends heavy to the left. The horizontal recoil is very, very high on the AEK-971, and that is why I designed a class later in the video to show you guys how to compensate for that. The vertical recoil is pretty normal for the entire assault rifle class. It's not too powerful, as you guys can notice if you compare it to this weapon to some of the other weapons I've reviewed earlier. You'll see that it's really not that heavy, but the horizontal recoil is noticeably very, very powerful, and learning to compensate that will make you a very good AEK-971 player. The AEK-971's magazine size is back to the normal 30 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, and there's nothing special at all about that. You always have to keep in mind that the rate of fire will actually drain the magazine very fast, so remember to compensate for that when using this weapon. Unlike the Famas, I designed two classes for the AEK-971. One is for aggressive playstyle and one is for medium range combat playstyle. The Cobra is great on this weapon because it has an open sight picture and I feel it suits it very well. The foregrip is being used because of that very heavy left horizontal recoil. Now, you only use a foregrip on a weapon where one recoil side will take a precedent over the other. Be it left or right, you always want to use a foregrip on a weapon where the horizontal recoil on the left or the right is heavier than it is on the other side. Because when they have an even value, they will go left and right at the same amount of time, making the horizontal recoil not a factor at all in using the weapon. That is why I have a foregrip on this weapon. The suppressor actually will increase the accuracy, making the loss of accuracy caused by the foregrip not matter as much, and the suppressor will lower the vertical recoil and just give it an overall badass feel because the AEK is actually benefits more from the suppressor than it actually takes away from its use. So the second class is more suited to lowering recoil. I like the PKA 3.4 times scope because it suits this weapon well and has an open sight picture for recoil compensation and because of the higher rate of fire. The foregrip is used like usual to make sure the horizontal recoil is not as powerful as it will be without it, and I like the flash suppressor to make vertical recoil not matter as much at longer range because it decreases the vertical recoil, and since you're using it at medium range, the decreased hip fire accuracy is not as important. So the number one thing when using the AEK-971 is lowering that left recoil. It is very, very high, and using the foregrip in conjunction with the suppressor will make your recoil and accuracy very comparable and make the AEK a very, very good weapon. I like using this weapon a lot because of the high rate of fire and controllability that you can have when using this weapon while limiting your fire rate by burst firing at medium range and by using the attachments that I recommend to make sure your recoil is not too much of a bear and doesn't affect you as much. And that's it for today's episode of the Armory. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a good episode. I hope you guys also enjoyed the gameplay. Very high action, hectic, awesome gameplay. Next episode, I will be covering the G3A3 and the L85A2. These are the lower rate of fire assault rifles. Should be a great episode. I do not want you guys to miss it. There are links to my Twitter and Facebook page down in the description so you guys do not miss any updates regarding the Armory. And as always, rate, comment, and subscribe. and I will see you guys later. And now, just in case you guys missed it, here is last episode of the Armory. I covered the burst fire assault rifles. Good episode. Twitter, Facebook, and if you guys have yet to, make sure you subscribe. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.